are live on the Our Football Network talking Rutgers football. It's the first time we've had an opportunity to talk some college football this spring, and we're going to make a habit of doing this more often. I don't have Richie O'Leary on from Rivals, who is not only the publisher at Rivals, but also Rutgers Analyst, has the Rutgers YouTube channel, because I'm a homer, but because Richie is also, of course, heavily into the college football portal at Rivals, and that's why I wanted to have him on more than anything. And I figured, hey, well, I'll have him on for the portal. Let's talk some Rutgers football. How's it going, Rich?
Yeah, it's going good. Off season's going. I'm just kind of excited for football. It's only a couple months away. Spring ball gave me that little bit of an itch, so now I'm just ready. I'm ready for September.
Right. Boy, how things have changed with Rutgers between basketball and football over the past several years. It was all football, and all of a sudden basketball started to gain so much steam, and the football program was left behind, and people were wondering, is this a basketball program now? And yeah, I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah, no,
that's another story. But
quite the back and forth there. So
yeah, well, let's talk about the positive things going on at Rutgers, and that's the football program. So, how are the fans as far as the excitement level? They must be pretty stoked after the way the season ended. It was a good season. A lot of key players are coming back, including the quarterback.
Yeah, they saw some flashes of what the offense could be in the future in that bowl game against Kansas State, putting up 40-plus points. I know they ended up losing, which kind of stunk, but they did that all without Kyle Monungai, who, mind you, just got drafted by the Chicago Bears. So the fact they did it with a true freshman running back who went for 118, 3 touchdowns. You saw the quarterback start slinging the rock a little bit. It's like, oh my God, what is this Rutgers offense? I've never seen this since Mike Teal. This is crazy. So yeah, no, it's been they're excited. It's probably one of their better rosters in recent history. The problem is the schedule. The schedule's very, very, very tough this year. It's probably a top 10 schedule in the country, and we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe this is the year they finally knock off one of those big dogs.
Maybe, and it couldn't come at a better time, that's for sure, the way the program is developing. Okay, first off, of course, our lads prides itself on their depth charts, so I want to make sure college is so much tougher, naturally, especially now more than ever, with the portal. So let's start on offense. First thing I got to ask you, is there anything like that's way out of whack as far as if you're just taking a look at this depth chart, do you see anything that's, you know what? I mean, for instance, not that it's way out of whack, but do you think like Vernon Allen should be considered the top freshman receiver at this point?
That's a good question. I know after seeing the spring game, a lot of people do think he's the top receiver. I think it's between him and Jordan Houston. I think it's very, very close between those two.
So Thomas is he had all the early edge, I guess, because of recognition, but he's not as developed as Houston and Allen right now.
Actually, they were all similarly ranked out of high school for us, at least. I think Houston might have been actually the highest of the three when it comes to
maybe it was just name recognition then.
Yeah, right. Thomas is only going to play the slot. I don't think he's going to play the outside at all. I don't think he's an outside guy. That being said, DT Sheffield owns that spot. Dylan Braithwaite and Thomas are going to compete for that backup slot spot. But in terms of receivers, it's those top three. It's Duff, Strong, Sheffield, and then Black's probably right there. Fama Toure is right after him. A little bit to be determined on him, though, because he got pretty banged up in the spring game. We don't know what his status is going to be going forward. So one of those freshmen is probably going to have to step up and get on that 2 deep. Who's it going to be? That's the big question mark, and that's probably what we'll find out in training camp.
And just looking at this depth chart, this receiver depth chart for Rutgers, I don't think I've ever seen this much talent before. Now, it's on paper, but wow, what it could become, especially at the top with Strong and Duff.
Yeah, I thought Ian Strong had a hell of a sophomore year, true sophomore, mind you. Came into Rutgers as a freshman in 2023 and was a safety to start. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, like this guy's got hands too. Like he can get open. There's separations there. Like, all right, there's our deep ball threat. And I think he put up 600 yards last year, something like that. But I think he has the potential to be a leave early type of guy. Now, when I say that, people like to automatically think like, oh my God, you think he's going to be like a 3rd round pick? And I'm like, no, let's relax. Like, I think he's good. I don't think he's that good. But I think if he wanted to, he could leave and be a draft pick after this season if everything goes right. I think the ceiling is the roof right there for him. Or the roof is the ceiling, whatever the quote from Jordan is. But I think he's good. I think KJ Duff's really good as a true sophomore. I think DT Sheffield's going to be super, super dangerous too. And he might end up being the best of the 3 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's Sheffield being a key portal addition. So let's go that direction on offense. Is he definitely the biggest portal addition for that side of the ball? I know they have Campbell here listed at the. I don't know if Campbell will be the number one running back. I know, of course, you mentioned Raymond and what he did last year in the bowl game, and of course Sam Brown. It's all about staying healthy. But is Sheffield the top offensive portal addition?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Campbell is right there. I think Campbell and Raymond are going to split carries at running back, but I think Sheffield specifically is going to be the full-time starter. We saw it last year with Dymere Miller in the slot. He was their number one receiver by far. He had, I think it was 60, 50 something receptions for 800 yards on the year. Top guy in receptions, top guy in yards. I think he was second in touchdowns when it was all said and done, but DT Sheffield should be able to, oh, there you go. Yeah, well, look at that. Top guy in reception yards and second in touchdowns. So spot on right there, actually.
That's it.
Pretty good guesses. But yeah, no, DT Sheffield's dangerous, man. He is small. He's probably around 5'9", 5'10-ish, but he's able to create that separation at the line, and you get on that ball and he's just gonna rack up the yak. Like, he is so dangerous in space. I've had so many American Conference schools, beat writers reach out to us when Rutgers got him. And they're like, you don't understand. Like, this kid is the real deal. Like, North Texas was better last year, but get him in space in the Big Ten, and I think he could be a real big play threat.
And of course, it all starts up front, and with Holland Pierce gone, which I can't even believe he wasn't drafted. It's, and of course he goes to the Eagles. Yeah. Give him like maybe even a season, and he'll be like a 10-year All-Pro Eagles tackle. And yeah, we'll sit there and go, well, we kind of knew that was going to happen. Anyway, how much are they going to miss him?
They're going to miss him a ton. I mean, that was your full-fledged starting left tackle for the past 3 seasons. So losing him, one of the better in the Big Ten, definitely hurts. But I think their line's still pretty solid. I know you have Tyler Needham there at left tackle. I think that's going to be an interesting situation because they just did add Ryder Langsdale. I think he's a top 1,000 portal kid when it comes to overall rankings. In terms of offensive tackles, he was ranked number 4 offensive tackle in all the FCS last year. He's coming over from Lafayette. So it is a big jump in a big gap in play style too, going from Lafayette to Rutgers in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But they've done this before. If you remember a couple of years ago, J.D. Lorenzo was a Sacred Heart transfer, and he came in. Mind you, the line was not that good at all. But he did come in, and he was their best lineman in his solo year, going from Sacred Heart to Rutgers. So if you're good enough at offensive line play, I think there is room for you to grow in the Big Ten and room for him to play here too. So he'll compete with Needham for that left tackle spot. And then depending on what happens in that one, Needham could technically slide back to right tackle. Taj White could be battling for him there. There's a lot of intricacies still that have to really play out in training camp for us to see kind of how this line plays out. But I do think with Pat Flaherty at the helm, there's really not much to worry about. Yeah,
Rutgers has a big edge there, no question about it, on the offensive line, thanks to their coach. Boy, I don't even know where we'd be without him, especially because the talent isn't exactly there yet. Are there any younger linemen that we should be keeping an eye on down the road? Anyone that sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, Mashu Giwa is coming in, another FCS transfer from LIU. I'm really intrigued to see what he can do. He was a freshman All-American last year at the FCS level, mind you, at Long Island. So we'll kind of see what he can do. It's, again, a really big jump in play. Nick Oliveri is probably going to, I don't want to say, probably a little bit of a stretch, but he has a good chance of being a starting guard next year when Brian Felter graduates.
Okay.
They like him a lot. They think his play style fits what they want. He's a mean SOB in the trenches, and I love that when I get to see those guys on tape. And he was a late flip too in the recruiting process. Recruited him away from Cincinnati in the end. There were some other Power 5 schools after him, but Rutgers was just able to get the deal done, and he's really developed into a nice piece. After that, Hank Zawinskis will probably just slide in for his brother next year. It's just as simple as that. Has playing time experience at Colorado for the past couple of years. Was Colorado's starter in 24 at center. So I think adding him to the roster helps. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All the other younger guys probably still have to develop a little more.
Before we move on to defense, a lot of excitement from the spring game came from quarterback AJ Surace, and we talked about him when he was recruited to Rutgers. And I know how much we were excited about that move. And of course, really we heard anything about him since then, which is normal. It was freshman. But all of a sudden now, the opportunity to battle for that number 2 job, he's obviously won that. The other kid decides to transfer, and he has a really good spring game. And now all of a sudden, everybody's getting pretty excited about the future there.
Yeah, I think he's your starting quarterback in 26, if not 27 and 28 as well. You saw him sling the rock. He was pretty good with it. He's made some freshman mistakes, and that's expected. I mean, the guy's never played in a collegiate game before, and this is just not even a collegiate game. This is just a spring ball practice or scrimmage. So he's still got to learn. There was one pass that in particular that I was like, oh, that should have been a pick. And luckily the DB dropped it.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I thought he was placing the ball pretty nicely. Vernon Allen, he hit quite a few times, and there was just quite a few passes where he was able to sail it over to DB's head and put it where literally only Vernon Allen could catch it. And he ended up hauling it in. I think there's still some things for him to work on. I think it comes down to just being smarter with the football. On top of the fact, I think he needs a little bit more zip behind his ball. I think he has the power to get the ball downfield. I would like to see it less air and more of a kind of a zip pass to the receivers while they're running their routes. But other than that, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him. I do wish, and this is just me in particular, I like the quarterbacks to have a little moxie to them, like a little bit of a kind of a jerk type of person. And he just seems like such a nice kid. Like even talking to him after the game, it's just like, hey, sir, how's it going, sir? And I'm like, dude, like I need you to have a little moxie. I need you to get a little a little swagger to you. Like
especially in New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah. You're the quarterback. You're the leader of the team now. So now like, hey, I need a little bit of swagger here. Well, but other than that, I mean, I think the sky's the limit. He's a damn good kid.
Well, maybe he needs to get punched in the face a little bit by the opponent whenever he does get in there and play some football in the next year or two. But I hear you. Matter of fact, I was just talking to Ryan Dunleavy, a Rutgers grad, yesterday about the Giants. And he was going over similar about the quarterback. I was asking about Jackson Dart and whether or not he thought he could fit in New York.
Swagger.
And he talked about that and then said, yeah, because you take a look at Daniel Jones, who was too nice and didn't fit. It was always very very bland, basically in his press conferences. And so, yeah, I mean that, and obviously, look, you didn't have the talent either, but if you're in the New York media, which AJ is going to be in, it would be nice if he can maybe get a little bit of a, not a backbone, but a little bit of, like you're saying, moxie. That would be really good. But just got to get out there and play and prove it. So
yeah, I mean, listen, Ethan Kalikmanis is also a very genuine and very nice kid. But at the end of the day, like you see him on the football field and he's not afraid to scream in someone's face. And that's what I like to see. Like I need just a little bit of anger out of you. So we'll wait and see if he can develop it. He's
going to learn for a second straight year under Kalikmanis. So maybe he'll learn a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
And speaking of Kalikmanis, because like you said, they were so proficient in the passing game, especially late in the season in the bowl game. We hadn't seen this before in a long time, and we could talk about how good the receivers are. But boy, there were a lot of moments this past season where he was looking really good. I mean, we haven't seen this type of passing efficiency, especially down the field from a Rutgers quarterback in a long time.
Yeah, no, I mean, specifically in that last game of the season, 240 touchdown. Like he's been really smart with the football, 18 touchdowns on the year, 7 interceptions. He did have a couple mishaps here and there, like the Nebraska game. There were some stupid plays, stupid passes that he threw. But for the most part, like I think his numbers are a little skewed in terms of accuracy because people look at it and they're like 53.9%, which isn't great by any means. No. But then you look at some of the games and then you see like 60, 60, 60, 60, like almost across the board. And then you see a 40 and that's like, okay, that's going to skew the numbers. And it's 60, 60, 58, 57, 66, 51. Okay, that's going to skew the numbers. 66, 50, 60. So it skews the numbers a little bit back and forth. I do think he's a product of dropped balls too. And that definitely hurts him a little bit. When he was at Minnesota in 23, he had the most drop balls in college, or second most drop balls in college football.
Okay.
He goes to Rutgers, and he's still having a little bit of a drop problem. You saw it with Dymere Miller at times. You saw it with Chris Long specifically early on in the season. So that's definitely not going to help him either. But he's smart with the football. He's not going to – I don't think he's necessarily going to win you a game with the game-winning drive on the line because they're going to they're going to run the rock as much as possible. and you're probably better off with your running back trying to win you the game. But I also don't think he's going to lose you a game. He's going to keep you in every single game, no matter what. And that's all you can really ask for a Rutgers QB room that's really struggled over the years.
So you don't really think that the way that the Schiano way of playing football offensively, which is whenever it's been successful, it's been run first. And we've had a lot of that lately. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they just haven't had a passing game. But now that they have a little bit more of a passing game, do you think that's just going to add a little bit more, but they're still going to rely on the run game first?
Yeah, it's always going to be run first with Greg. I don't think that's ever going to change. And he's got the talented running back room to do it. You look right there and you see Sam Brown's ran for 100+ yards in games multiple times. Antoine Raymond, true freshman last year, was supposed to be a high school senior, enrolled early, a year early, and ends up running for 500 yards on the year. And then CJ Campbell's just produced at the college level too at FAU, and he's also a really good pass catcher. So I think they're going to use that weapon out of the backfield. I think it's going to be run first. It's probably going to be running 60% of the time again. But I think the passing game just gets a little bit better this year because you have more weapons. And on top of that, you need protection at the end of the day. And I think it's going to be easier to run block than it is to pass block.
And by the way, the tight end situation, they haven't had anything going on at tight end for such a long time. But on paper, it actually looks like there's some possible talent here, and a little bit of depth. Is that the case? Not that they look like they have like a true number one guy that's going to be a difference maker. I'm not saying that, but all four of these guys look like, that's when I compared them to other depth charts in recent past, it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, no, Kenny Fletcher actually missed the spring, so we didn't really get to see how he developed, but obviously, this former defensive end, converted tight end. This was his first full season as a tight end last year. Ends up getting banged up. Okay, that's fine. Second string comes in, ends up getting banged up. Okay, that's fine. Third string comes in, ends up getting banged up. And it's like, What are we doing here?
Yeah.
So I think it's just more so building depth there in that room. For the majority of the Kirk Ciarrocca offenses throughout his career, he rarely uses the tight end. There was the one season where he had Brevin Spann-Ford at Minnesota. And of course, when you have an NFL caliber tight end of his play style, you have to use it. Like, why would you not? So that was the one anomaly, I guess, in Kirk Ciarrocca's offenses over the year. So they might use it a little bit here and there. And we saw Kenny Fletcher be used a little bit here and there. I'm intrigued to see how kind of Colin Weber fits into this scheme, because he is a solid pass catcher. He did work a lot on his blocking this spring. I think he could challenge for that starting spot, but I think either way, they're probably just going to keep rotating those guys back and forth between those two specifically. And then the other two will kind of just fill in snaps here and there.
Okay. Defensively, and believe it or not, because this is not what we're used to having to deal with at Rutgers under Schiano, that this was actually the issue with the team last year. They couldn't stop the run. Too many big plays in the passing game. Not enough pressure on the quarterback. But there's talent here. There's a lot of new talent too. So talk about a lot of these. Who are the most important transfers that they're adding to the team? Because as far as this depth chart says, it's possible they might have 8 players that are going to be contributing.
Yeah. Just looking at this depth chart specifically, I would have it as all 4 transfers starting across that defensive line. I think all 4 of them are going to be very good. I think you can make an exception for Zaire Angoy or Doug Blue Eli. They play a similar position. They're both going to play that nose spot. They're both big, massive space eaters. I think Blue Eli probably has the edge a little bit just because he's produced a lot at this level or at the college level, whereas Zaire Angoy's only kind of filled in here and there.
Okay.
But that being said, Zaire Angoy did just win the most improved defensive player for spring ball. So I think that one's more of an or, whereas the other 3 are kind of like solidified starters. But I think edge rushers, this is going to be their best, not only their best edge rusher specifically since Kamoko Toure. I think between the duo, it might be their best duo of edge rushers since I don't even know how long ago. Eric O'Neill is a force to be reckoned with on the edge. Bradley Weaver is massive, and he's so big that I think he's probably going to end up sliding on the interior for pass rushing downs, or pass rush, or on third down on pass rush plays. I think the 2 of them could combine to be really, really dominant in this Big Ten. They're going to be a force, like between the space eaters in the middle. And then Daryl Dengoe, he has really showed some serious promise as a sophomore last year, or redshirt freshman last year at James Madison. And he really has a lot of talent. He's probably going to be their starter as of right now. They also brought in some depth pieces here and there. As you can see, Oliver Belletti came in. Sean Griffin's seen some snap. Henry Hughes Jr. has seen some snaps. Braxton Kyle's like another dude that's true freshman that's probably going to end up seeing snaps, and I could see his red shirt being burned.
Wow.
There's a lot of different weapons there, and I didn't even mention Jordan Walker, who's one of their leading returners in the sack category last year. Jordan Thompson's made a name for himself this offseason. Digibro Abdul Rahman has been pretty good. He had a big spring game where he had a couple sacks, a couple tackles for loss. So this defensive line room might be one of the better that they've had in recent history, and I'm really high on this defense this year.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Linebacker. So Jabomi, he's been the real story. And maybe this is the year he kind of gets more national attention. But we know how good he's become in such a little bit of time. Matter of fact, we kind of expected that from Moses Walker, but that hasn't happened yet. Maybe the coaching change, maybe that'll help him. Who knows? We'll talk a little bit about that as well, just in a second. But yeah, talk about Jabomi, and also, again, there's only 2 linebackers on this depth chart. So are there any, and there are a couple of freshmen there. So are there any other linebackers that we need to be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Jabome, like as you and I both know really well, between him and Walker starting last year, there were so many concerns at first. It's just guys hitting the wrong hole, missing the wrong reads, like just completely getting blocked at like the second level, not just the line of scrimmage. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, can't even get a hand on the guy to force a trip or like a tackle or anything. But it was really rough to see. But Jabome really developed into a nice piece in the end. He, like you said, developed into the guy that we thought Moses Walker would be. And Jabome has already been mentioned by a couple of like NFL mocks for next year. And I'm like, okay, geez, like he's really coming into his own. He's massive. He's huge. He's a really good linebacker. Moses Walker is still learning. He's gotten a lot better since last season.
Okay.
The question is, how much better can he get before the season starts? They lost Mohamed Toure to the portal. Likely going to end up in the ACC, it sounds like. Losing him definitely hurts a little bit, but they weren't going to go all out to keep him because at the end of the day, NIL is it's tough. It's not easy to just throw around money, especially for a guy that had 2 ACL surgeries.
Yeah, can't take that chance
on the same knee in 2 of the last 3 years. So it's very risky. I think Moses Walker will fill in for now. I do know they want to get a portal linebacker, so nothing's definite as of right now. Abram Wright would be the 3rd guy up, but he also missed spring. He was injured I think he got injured in, I forget what game it was. It was late in the season. Ended up celebrating a touchdown with someone and just ended up getting a non-contact injury. It looked pretty brutal. I don't know if it was ACL or if it was Achilles, but it looked like something in his knee/leg area. So it's going to be to be determined on if he can return quick enough. But Sam Robinson is a freak. I think he's a young Olakunle Fatukasi type, sideline to sideline guy, will hit you like a ton of bricks. Like, he is not afraid to lay the boom. Now, that being said, he's also still very young. He's still learning the game a little bit. He's still learning what's the right call, what's the read here, what do I do in this situation. So he has to learn. MJ Johnson had a pretty good spring game. And then Kamar Archie's not even on campus, but I think he'll probably play some snaps. They'll probably end up redshirting him. But like I said, they really want to portal a linebacker. So we'll wait and see if they can do that. But this is probably the biggest concern of not only the defense, but probably the team as a whole.
And McClary, that's somebody that
he's learning. He's a freshman. He's only been here for 5 months now. So it's going to be tough for those guys, I think.
And then the secondary, wow, a ton of changes. And then you got some young guys as well. So there's a lot to throw out there. But hey, why not? I know there's some key veterans the team lost, including Longerbeam. But still, there's a lot of hope here. There's some talent there.
Yeah, no, I mean, Longerbeam drafted in 6th round. Eric Rogers, Flip Dixon, Desmond Igbenogson, and who am I missing? I'm missing one more. Flip Dixon, Shaquan Loyal, all ended up being undrafted free agents. So they're all on NFL rosters as of right now.
Big surprise, right? Rutgers, Shiano.
Rutgers, secondary, Shiano. It's just, it always works like that.
Yeah.
But they're going to be tough to replace. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I know they're very high on Bo Mascow. They think he's a damn good corner. He's shown some real promise over the past year and a half. I shouldn't even say year and a half. I should say year and 1 game, because he missed his freshman year due to an eligibility thing, but was able to play in the bowl game in 2023 in the Pinstripe Bowl. So, and he looked good in the Pinstripe
That's
Bowl.
right. He did. I remember that.
And then all of a sudden, this past season, he still rotates in as a backup guy. Starts to look good again. Starts playing a lot more towards the end of the season, as guys were sitting out and stuff. But he'll probably be one of those starting defensive backs. Now, I don't know how it's going to end up slotting out between him, Cam Miller, and Jacoby Henderson. I think Cam Miller is probably cornerback one, has the most experience, has Big Ten level experience, has Big Ten level production from his time at Penn State. Did he have some mishaps, especially in that Notre Dame game? Yes, he was the one that gave up that massive play at the end. But I do think he's still a good corner. I just think he takes a little too much, probably a little too many risks, and that's the problem. But you got to love and hate that at the same time, because it will pay off for you at times. It will also burn you at times. So he's probably going to be cornerback one. Cornerback two is probably going to be a battle between Henderson and Mascow. And then one of them probably slides into the nickel, if I had to guess. I don't really know who's going to do it, because they've both seen snaps at the nickel in the past. Like, Mascow doesn't have a ton of snaps at the nickel, but he played a little bit last year.
Okay.
Whereas Jacoby Henderson played strictly outside last year for Marshall, but the year before was in the nickel for Marshall. So it's like one of those guys is going to end up playing the nickel. I'm going to assume right now it's probably going to be Jacoby Henderson.
Okay. But it's not going to be Cam Miller.
No, I don't think so. I think Cam's going to be their top corner by far. Then the safety room. The safety room is interesting. Like, Kaj Sanders returns. He was a true freshman last year, started, I think, 4 or 5 games in the end. He's really produced. He's really developed into his own. He's also has to work in his coverage a little bit, but he'll learn on the fly. He's a guy that's high ceiling dude.
Oh, yeah.
Jet Elad wasn't eligible technically, but was still practicing, and then was eligible because the whole court case and the Diego Pavia thing the ruling didn't really affect him, so he had to go to court for it and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he's eligible. I think he is going to be probably their best defensive back this season. I think he has such a high ceiling. I watched his tape over and over again at UNLV, and I don't even think he was the best DB on that UNLV defense, which is crazy to say, but I think just watching his tape, he's not afraid to get stops in the run game. He's not afraid to play closer to the line of scrimmage as that hybrid type safety linebacker role that Graciano loves, that he's done with Christian Izien, turned him into a draft pick that he might have been undrafted actually.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Christian Izien role, the Flip Dixon role, Jet Elad, I think slides in there perfectly. As far as backups go, it's kind of up in the air. Sage Claudius is there. Kevin Levy played snaps. Al-Shadi Salam's a veteran now. They brought in a transfer from Mercer and Chris Joynes, so we'll see how he kind of fits in. But yeah, no, I mean, I think this DB unit actually has a lot of promise, but the problem is they haven't played together, number one, and they also are all pretty much newcomers for the most part. So you got to see how they all fit.
Is there which unit are you the most concerned about overall, especially if there are a few injuries, offensively and defensively?
Offensively, I will say offensive tackle, because God forbid you lose one of those guys. Now like I said, they brought in Langsdale, and he's a veteran. So we'll see what he can do. We don't know. But Lafayette's a big jump. Tyler Needham hasn't really been healthy throughout his career. Missed a chunk of last season. So they had to put in Taj White, and Taj White slid from left guard last season starting to right tackle starting. So the tackle spot is what really intrigues me, and it's going to be very questionable because you bring in a Lafayette transfer, a Long Island transfer, and Zach Amwin from Illinois, who hasn't played a single snap in 2 years. Okay. So that's probably the biggest concern on offense. Defense, it's 100% linebacker. That room is, even without an injury, it's still pretty scary, because we saw what Walker and Jabome did early on last season, and it was struggles. Yeah. So we don't really know how that's going to play out. I assume as of right now, Walker's probably the other starter, but they do want to add a portal linebacker. I think if they can add a solid portal linebacker, someone that can, I don't even know if you necessarily need a starter. It just needs to be someone that can rotate in with those guys and just kind of just provide at least 20 snaps per game or so, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, because there's a lot of again, everything here is underclass. So if they can add a upperclassman with a little bit of experience for snaps, like you said, that would make a lot of sense. Speaking of defense, the biggest coaching change is on the defensive side of the ball. I know you guys are weren't the most excited about the news. So talk a little bit about Rutgers' new defensive coordinator, and I don't know. I mean, give us something positive, and also I guess hey, be realistic and maybe just put it out there on what could happen in a negative way if based on what we've seen experience-wise from the past.
So they brought in technically 2 co-DCs. No one really has the defensive coordinator title by themselves. Whereas Rob Smith is coming back for his third go around at Rutgers. He's co-DC / play caller. So he's basically the DC in writing, but doesn't have the full DC title. It's such a weird dynamic how it all works. Whereas Zach Sparber is the co-DC, but he's also the linebackers coach. He's not going to be calling plays, but he's worked with Rob Smith before during his time at Duke. So the two of them are pretty are going to work coercively together, and they're going to just kind of figure things out. The bright side, let's start negative actually.
Okay.
And then I'll flip to the right side. Rob Smith has been fired multiple times, including Rutgers and Greg Schiano 2.0 in 2022. I think he was let go. And then went to Duke as their DC and was let go from there. The bright side is every time he goes to these new jobs, no matter where it is, whether it's Rutgers, whether it's Arkansas, whether it's Duke, his first year at these places is always pretty good.
Okay.
His second year is where it falls off completely.
Okay.
Greg trusts the guy, and Greg knows more than anything he needs his staff to trust him at the end of the day. And he has to be able to trust them to make the right calls. He knows Greg better than anyone. So this is obviously switching positives. He knows Greg better than anyone. He's been under his defense multiple times between Rutgers' first go around, Tampa Bay Bucks, between Rutgers' second go around. He knows what Greg wants to do. The other thing is that this is a damn good defense from top to bottom. On paper, it looks really good. And not having him focus on a position group at all this go around, which is something he's had to do in the past, might help him a little bit more.
Okay.
I think he's going to be aggressive. I think if worse comes to worse, I think Greg knows that he can just step in and just start calling plays again if he has to. He did it in the bowl game. Now, was it pretty in the bowl game? No, it wasn't the prettiest in the world, but he just showed that he could still do it if need be.
Sure.
So I don't think it's the best hire in the world. I don't think it's also the worst in the world because it is someone that understands him, understands his philosophy and his defense.
So considering it happened as late as it did, and also, like you said, that year two isn't as always good as year one, is it possible that this was one of those situations where Schiano couldn't get the guy he wanted? This was the fallback guy. Let me bring him in for a year. And then this gives me some more time to find the guy that I really want, even if we have a good year. But because I've been down this road before with him as well and know that chances are year two might not be as good as year one.
Yeah, no, for sure. We confirmed it on our site, on our message boards multiple times. Corey Heatherman was target number one. He was the former Rutgers linebackers coach, spent a year at Minnesota as their GC, ends up going to Miami where he gets a giant payday under Mario Cristobal. We know Miami can basically outspend anyone when it comes to NIL, coaching staffs, etc. So yeah, him going to Miami kind of threw a loop for things, but Rutgers was in it to the very end. Rutgers was his 1B in terms of where he was going to decide, and it's just too much to pass up in terms of money for Miami. Plus, they have a really good shot at making a run in the college football playoffs.
Makes sense.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense from that aspect, but he was supposed to be the guy that was going to replace Harris Simiak when Harris Simiak left. And he proved he was a good defensive coordinator last year at Minnesota. So that was their target number one. I think there were other guys definitely on the board there. I don't have specifics in terms of names there, but ends up, I don't want to say settling, but ends up getting a guy that he trusts, a guy that it's not easy to work for Greg Schiano. He's an old school coach, and a lot of these younger up and comers don't want to, or I shouldn't say not young up and comers. A lot of the older guys just don't want to deal with that old school mentality. They want to just be cushy in their position and do whatever they can from day to day. Whereas Greg demands a lot out of his guys. He wants you working as much as possible, wants to get this team better, wants to get them to that next level. And it's not an easy climb for anyone coaching at Rutgers, but you have to not only like football, you have to love football to coach at Rutgers and coach under Greg.
Same thing with the players. So that's how he recruits. And anytime we see some of these players leave the program, that's the first thing that always hits you. And the first thing that you always say to yourself is, well, I guess they didn't want it hard enough. Now that's not always the case. I'm sure there are reasons, other reasons, but that always is the first thing that comes into your mind. Well, I guess that guy's not a Rutgers guy. So, okay. Special teams, by the way, are they looking pretty good here?
Yeah, it's going to be the same for the most part. Same kicker, Jay Patel, pretty solid, consistent. Yeah. Jacob Anderson, really, again, solid, consistent. New long snapper. I don't know if that really plays that much of a factor, but it's kind of turning into a quietly long snapper between two starters in the NFL. Well, one starter now because Clark Harris retired, but they have a starting long snapper in the NFL. They just got their old long snapper they brought in from the transfer portal for a year. And Austin Riggs just got a rookie minicamp invite, so there's a chance he makes a roster too.
Cool.
So yeah, quietly long snapper you.
Hey, we can use as many Rutgers players in the NFL as we can get them, right?
Yeah.
That helps with recruiting.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I let you go, tell me a little bit. Give me the overall player on offense or defense that you think is going to have the breakout year.
Breakout year. Let's see.
As long as they, of course, continue to develop in camp and so forth, because we're still a long way away. We haven't even gotten to fall camp yet.
I know. Yeah. Still, you're not kidding. Couple of months still. But
yeah.
Offense, I'll probably say Ian Strong. He was close to 700 yards last year. I think he has a chance to eclipse like the 800, 900 yard mark. I think the ball is going to be spread around a lot, so it's going to be hard to get that 1,000 yards. Between him, Sheffield, and Duff, I think Ian Strong has a chance to be, like I said before, an NFL guy.
Yep.
I don't think he'll be an early day pick, but I think he has a chance to be like a mid to late round pick if he keeps developing the way we think he's going to.
Is there a noticeable issue to his game that he needs to get better at?
I think he just has to get quicker. I think that's the biggest issue that he's ever had. And that's always kind of been an issue for him. But his deep ball threat, his ability to jump up and get up there, not only just his athleticism, but it's on top of that, he has the length and the wingspan to really just high point the ball basically better than most people, but any corner that's covering him. I think he's able to leap ahead of him, but not only leap ahead of him, but stick his arms up in the air. And he's noticeably taller when he does that. But yeah, I think he has the ability to really develop his game. I want to see that speed factor just increase a little bit, just to see if he can get a little bit more open instead of going up for these contested balls and kind of make them a little bit easier on the stomach and the eyes when you're watching.
Yes, because at the next level, it's not going to be as easy. Okay, on defense, give me a guy that you think might break out. Is it Jabomi?
No, I think Jabomi is going to be good.
Okay.
I think Eric O'Neill's the dude. I think he's that edge rusher that you really have lacked over the years. I know Aaron Lewis and Wesley Bailey had a lot of hype behind him. I don't think they were ever able to really produce, and that's the problem. I need someone that can produce results, and I think between his quickness off the edge, his bend, his just mean, and again, I love the mean streak in the trenches. I think he is the meanest of mean SOBs in those trenches. He is going to not only get to the quarterback, he's going to try to kill the quarterback. Like that. That is his goal at the end of the day. And he proved it last year. He was damn good at James Madison. He could have left and went to the league and been drafted. But decided, hey, he's a Staten Island kid. I'm going to come back home for one more year. I'm going to see if I can elevate my draft stock even more and see what I could do. Edge rushers are their premier position in not only the NFL, but now in college. So we'll wait and see what he can do on the field when it comes to game day, but I am very, very high on his potential.
Okay, so lastly, and I know we'll hopefully have a chance to talk just before the season begins. Well, actually, and not less, because one other thing, there are no key injuries right now. I know guys are banged up, but is there like an injury at all that Rutgers needs to concern themselves with right now, like a key injury?
Not really, knock on wood. Yeah, I'd say Abram Wright being that third linebacker, he was projected to be that third linebacker, but missed all spring. We'll wait and see how he recovers a little more. But other than that, everyone's pretty healthy. Fama Toure, like I said, got injured in the spring game, so we don't know how much he's going to be able to contribute this season or how healthy he really is. So I've heard it's something in his knee, so it could be pretty bad. He could end up missing the year, but these are all reserve guys, so knock on wood, the starters are all pretty healthy for meantime.
Yeah, I mean, because injuries just killed the team last year, and it's I can't stand injuries in sports. It just drives me nuts.
Well, you saw the depth they added now. At every single position, it's a transfer, and it's like, okay, now we understand why he won't let that happen again.
Yeah. All right, and then the last thing is the schedule, like you said, is going to be tough. So tell me what's your early prognosis. Definitely bowl team, as long as again they're healthy. So the question then is, what more can they do? Any chance, or is the schedule preventing them from being like an Indiana?
I think the schedule probably prevents that. I think it's even tough right now to even say definitely bowl team. Like if you count, it's going to be tough because you look at it. I mean, you went from facing one of the easiest schedules in the country to now probably a top 5 schedule in the country. Yeah. You're playing Oregon at home, impossible. You're playing at Illinois, who's the projected top 15 team. Ohio State, you're playing at Ohio State, and then the last game of the season, you're bringing Penn State into.
Yeah, this isn't going to be any fun to
No,
end the
that's
season
good.
with these two games.
Yeah, that's going to be a rough one. I know fans like to think of that last game as a rivalry between Penn State. This year, Penn State might be a national championship contender.
Yeah.
Like they're right there. But between those four, I think you just got to count three, at least guaranteed. Probably three of those out of four are losses. I think Illinois is a little bit more of a toss-up and a potential, we'll see what happens type of moment. But, I mean, you start out the season with three easy ones. It's Ohio, Miami, Ohio, and Norfolk State. Now, I know people are big on Ohio. Last year, they had a really good season, but new coaching staff, whole new roster. Their best defensive end is currently Rutgers defensive end. So there you go.
Because these were the two MAC champion teams.
Yep.
So
Miami, Ohio also replaces a lot. So we'll see what they can do. Norfolk State, it's a win. Yeah. It's a freebie. I think Iowa is going to be really fun. It's going to get moved to a Friday night. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere there in SHI Stadium.
Okay.
And I think they have a chance to start 4-0. And that's really that Iowa game is the litmus test for me to see what they can really do this season. Can you beat Iowa handedly and prove to everyone like, all right, like this is a real Rutgers roster? Or you lose and then it's like, okay, now you're fighting for that 6th win somewhere. Minnesota, always a toss-up. We really don't know what's going to happen there. An away game, not ideal. You get a bye week before going out to Washington. So that's originally good. When I looked at the schedule, I didn't like this game because it's at Washington. It's too far away. They're a pretty solid roster. But having that bye week before, I think anytime Greg has a bye week or an extra couple weeks to prepare, his record is significantly better. So we'll see what happens there. Oregon tough. Purdue, I think they beat. So that's either 4 or 5, or even 6, depending on if you count that Minnesota game. And then Maryland, another toss-up. One year they kicked the crap out of Maryland. The next year, Maryland kicks the crap out of them. Then there's another year where it's like a triple overtime, 45-43 game. And it's like, I cannot predict that game for the life of me. Like, I've given up at this point. So I think 5, 6, 7 wins are all in the realm of possibility. I think anything more, you got to be extremely grateful. Anything less, you got to be extremely disappointed.
Yeah. But again, at the beginning of the season, that's where it's all going to dictate the season because that's where all the winnable games are. Right up actually until, and again, like you said, I would even count Washington now. Again, I say winnable. That's all. That's what it means. Winnable. Yeah. Doesn't mean they're going to win. Just means they can win. But really, that's not bad because you have to at least, if you can go 5-1 before you face Oregon, and with Purdue's on deck, you're in. You're a bowl team.
Yep. Yeah. They should be a bowl team when it's all said and done. I'm not going to guarantee it though by any means. You don't know what happens in these games, and injuries, like we said last year, played a factor. So ideally, they don't do that this year.
No, we don't want to repeat of that.